Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson, Director of Multicultural Affairs for the City of Huntsville, and welcome to Impact. Each week we bring you information about exciting things that are happening right here in our community, and today will be no different. You know, one of my favorite conversations is about education. I say that every time I talk about education because it absolutely is. I think it's a invaluable thing that people can attach themselves to and learn from and get down the road of life. Well, I have a couple of individuals here today who are going to be talking to us about education and some of the opportunities that exist right here in this community. One of them has been on this broadcast before, and they both have established themselves as great academic individuals in our community. Doug Brazier is back. Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Kenny. It's always glad to be back here.
And you are an outreach coordinator at the institution.
Yes, sir. I work in outreach at Calhoun. We get to change lives on a daily basis, get to talk to people in the community, show them a pathway, an easy pathway, I might add, to get into Calhoun and to change their situation.
Yeah, and I know I gave you a little bit of a promotion there by saying coordinator and advisor, but with the work you do on a daily basis, you're in the trenches, you are absolutely coordinating people's lives.
Well, it's an honor and a blessing for me. I'm going into my 8th year at Calhoun.
Wow.
Never thought I would be there. And it's funny how education works. Without an education, which my father made me get as we owned a family business years ago, I heard the Honorable Harry Hobbs mention on your program before that his mother had a 6th grade education. Well, my father had a 6th grade education. And he made me finish my school. But finishing that school and that degree that I've never thought I would use opened the door for me to get to work at Calhoun.
I tell you, having parents like that, I had the same experience. My mom and dad, just minimal education, but always encouraged us. They didn't push us per se, but they encouraged us and said that, resources might be limited and skills might be, in lots of different areas. Right. And there may be a lot of questions about the process, but you owe it to yourself to go as far as you can as far as education is concerned. So if it's up to us, we're going to open whatever doors we can, and they absolutely did. So I think a lot of us have that same testimony, that same story. So that's powerful. You're with Mark Brandon today. It's so good to see Mark. He's campus director on the great Huntsville campus of the amazing Calhoun Community College. I'm going to find all kind of adjectives and adverbs here today to work with this thing.
Well, thank you, Kenny, for the invite. Yes, I am the campus director of the Huntsville Research Park campus of Calhoun, and I've been there for about a year on that, but I've been with Calhoun almost 15 years.
You have been there a long time. In fact, I remember you coming on board, and you have just grown through the process and have taken on new responsibilities. And the role of campus director is a little bit new because the Huntsville campus has gone through some changes, and you've been right in the middle of a lot of that stuff. Talk a little bit about what's going on the Huntsville campus and what's been going on over the last year or so.
Yeah, I'm super excited about some of the things that we're doing, and my background is a faculty role, so which is a little bit different getting into this. I really understand what the faculty do, and I appreciate what they do every day. But just like Doug was talking about, I went to Calhoun when it was in the mall. And we can all remember
that, right?
Right, way back then. So, and I actually graduated Calhoun, and so the changes I've seen Calhoun go through over the years are phenomenal. And what we've even seen in this last year, the number of programs that we're adding, not only in our gen ed areas, but also in our technical areas, healthcare. We're adding some healthcare programs as we go along, but also in our non-credit area. As we talk about success for every student, remember, success is defined differently for every student. And so what success is to you or Doug or myself is all different. And at Calhoun, we do a really good job about helping students find that avenue to success.
Yeah.
So it might just be one class, or it might be a degree, or it might be transferring to a 4-year institution.
Yeah.
We have avenues for each of those.
It's interesting how you reference the mall location for Calhoun, and for those that don't know, we're not even talking about Madison Square Mall or Parkway Place. We're talking about the old mall where the fountain now exists, and people would identify it from that perspective. Just think Costco, think Home Depot, and then you have the old mall where Calhoun used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah, that's right. And so you go 15 years back from when you came on board, a little bit further back for me when I came on board. And it was at that time that the Huntsville campus really began developing and evolving and emerging into something. And something that I thought was very, very powerful at that time was we saw the enrollment on the Huntsville campus begin to really blow up. Talk a little bit about the enrollment at Calhoun's Huntsville campus right now, because I can remember at some point it was outpacing the Decatur campus. I'm not sure where you are right now, but I just remember at one time there weren't as many students at Huntsville, and then all of a sudden everything just kind of mushroomed. And I know you've added lots of things to support students. So what's happening with that right now?
Well, I think if you look at traditionally, Calhoun came into the Huntsville community only offering evening classes. And then the transition happened several years ago when we started offering more day classes just to meet students where they were. If you look at Calhoun, there's really three distinct populations of students. There's the Decatur campus, the Huntsville campus, and then our own Lyon community. And that's also a very large population. It's pretty much equal thirds. There are semesters where Huntsville's a little bit bigger or Decatur's a little bit bigger, but they all wax and wane to about the same. And a lot of that has to do in Huntsville with the growth of classes that start at 8 in the morning and go to 10 o'clock at night. There's always some class, either credit or non-credit, going on that campus, including Saturdays and Sundays.
That's right. And Doug, you're right there as an advisor. So you're seeing the students come in, you're watching the growth of the campus in terms of the infrastructure, because buildings are being built to accommodate this growth. It's got to be pretty exciting for you too as students come in talking about, is Calhoun the right choice for me?
Well, it's amazing to see, because part of my job is be able to go out into the community and talk to not only non-traditional students who are looking to change their lives, but go into the local high schools and talk to the students coming out. And I've been able to see the shift. I think this year we have more students than ever before coming from Bob Jones, more than ever before coming from Grissom. And these are two of our largest feeder schools in arguably our biggest feeder area, which is Huntsville-Madison County. So those are all exciting things to see happen, the growth.
It's got to be exciting too, because I know traditionally a lot of those students would automatically have their sights on Alabama and Auburn, which is what a lot of people do anyway. But you think about the value of the community college. And I'd like either one of you to kind of talk a little bit about that, because that's an important component of not just selling the institution, but also helping not just parents, but students and faculty members understand that there is a huge value in taking a look at the two-year school. What is that value?
You know, I think I have to go back to my personal testimony on that.
And that's sometimes the best ones.
It is. I'm a first-generation college student. And I never forget, I grew up in middle-class America. Parents, you know, kind of traditional there, were married, but they were hardworking. Neither one went to college. And I'll never forget my high school graduation. My father put his arm around me that evening right outside the Civic Center and said, "Mark, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, Dad, I think I want to go to college." And he said, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. I don't know how you're going to pay for it." And I was like, "Oh, I never thought about that." So Calhoun was the obvious answer for me. And that's why I started there. And, you know, did I ever think that I would be faculty at Calhoun and then the direct? No, that's just doors that opened for me because I had an education. And I did. I made that step at Calhoun, then I went to Athens State and finished a master's degree at the University of Alabama. But it's all because I started at Calhoun and I could afford that.
Yeah.
Did I finish in 2 years? Nope. Sometimes it took, 3 or 4 because I could only afford to take 1 or 2 classes, but I never quit.
Yeah, and that's the key.
And you talk about the economics of it. So many of the parents see that now. So the children may have their eyes set on Alabama or Auburn, but they know that if they come to Calhoun, Calhoun is SACS accredited, the same as Alabama, Auburn, Florida, UAB, Georgia, you name it. So they can do the classes at Calhoun, save a lot of money for the first year or 2 years, and then transfer to those schools.
And essentially, I don't care what school you go to, honestly, it's the truth. Whatever people say, math is the same. Science is the same.
Exactly.
English doesn't change from one school to the next. And Calhoun, I know from my own experience, has some extraordinary faculty members who create a culture of learning that students can come in and recognize that we don't have the impersonal experience of being in a class of 500 students, but I have a small class load where I have the capacity to succeed, and maybe after these 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, I can move on to something else because I've been successful at the lower level. And I know that when you're talking to students, Doug, these are some of the things that you say.
Oh yeah, I tell them, I said, listen, get started. It's very easy to do. Sometimes the hardest thing that we do in life is just take that first step. Calhoun is very simple. We have 5 simple steps to come in. You apply online, calhoun.edu. You fill out a FAFSA, because we need money to go to school if we don't have it sitting around. So a Pell Grant, if you're qualified for a Pell Grant, it can pay for your college at Calhoun without anything out of pocket. Take a placement exam if needed, talk with an advisor, and register for classes. It's a very simple process.
Yeah, well, it is a very simple process. How does somebody get started?
Calhoun.edu is the first step. To apply, you can apply online at calhoun.edu, and then just come on into Huntsville campus. We got a great staff at the Huntsville campus. Admissions, advising, financial aid, all those people are great. They'll welcome you with open arms and get it started.
So I'm just sitting here thinking, my first college experience, my, was a very long time ago. And I'm thinking about the process. I'm also thinking about the cost. I mean, the upside was that it didn't cost a whole lot, even though it was a lot to my parents because they didn't have a lot of money. But my last year at Oakwood, my last quarter, because we were in a quarter system, my last quarter at Oakwood, I spent $300 for that quarter. It was $1,000 for the whole school year. And I look at tuition now. I actually have some old textbooks. I'm a little bit of a pack rat. I have my psychology book from my sophomore year in college, $7.50. I went to school a long time ago. I mean, let's just be honest. Times have changed, and the resources that were available then are not necessarily, the resources that we have available today were not necessarily available then. Like you said, Doug, you open up something like this, an iPad, a computer, a smartphone, you go to the website, you pull down all the information about the application process, you apply online. You pull down a scheduling process. You can actually see what instructors are going to be teaching certain classes, and you can do your research and figure out what the best class to take. You can figure out your schedule based on your work responsibilities and other responsibilities that you might have. There's so much in place right now. You have an academic support system within the institution that helps people that may need tutoring and other kinds of support to be successful. There are so many things available out there. It's almost a can't miss situation if somebody puts their mind and heart and soul into it. Isn't that right?
Well, matter of fact, we just opened the Student Success Center on the Decatur campus, and we're in the process of the construction to start really soon of the Student Success Center on the Huntsville campus. And that's what that office is totally designed to do. If the student comes in, whether they need tutoring in chemistry or nursing, anything in between, it doesn't matter. We want students to succeed. You know, research shows that if students are successful in their gateway courses, those introductory math, English classes, if we can make them successful there, they're more likely to graduate.
Yeah.
So we need to focus not on just getting new students in, but retaining the students that we have.
Absolutely. That's a great way to segue into our close, because we want people to make sure that they know that that website is accessible. Maybe there's a phone number that they can reach out to. And Doug, I'm going to tell you, know this because I've told you this, and I've actually done this, at least when I was at Calhoun. Whenever somebody asked me about registering at Calhoun and he talked to an advisor, there are probably 2 or 3 names I throw out. Doug is always one of them, because I watched Doug work and I watched the care and concern that he has applied to every single student that comes through. Doug, like anybody else, probably has ups and downs, highs and lows, good and bad days. But Doug is very consistent with the students, and if I'm going to entrust somebody to Calhoun because they're interested in getting that valuable education, seeing that advisor is one of the first places they're going to go to, that is a make or break situation. And so I put them in Doug's hands, knowing full well that he's going to guide them and direct them through that process. And you have a staff full of advisors that have been trained in that same way.
They are. I am blessed to work with some very dedicated people. They're there because they want to help the students. And that permeates the entire staff. That permeates both campuses, Huntsville and Decatur.
Yeah.
But I'm biased because I do work on the Huntsville campus, and those people are amazing, and they will take that care, and they will help you if you come in.
Yep.
And you want to know the process, they will show you.
That's right. And I'm biased too, so I refer him to Doug. Well, I mean, Doug and a couple of other people, only because I've worked with Doug for so long and so well. And Doug would do the same thing to me. He'd bounce students back to me. So
Exactly.
We just had a great working relationship, and it's just always good to see him. Once again, give people a website and a phone number that they can reach out to you at.
The main number to Calhoun is 256-306-2500 and www.calhoun.edu.
All right, Doug Brazier, he is a outreach advisor for the college.
Sir.
And we're so glad to have him on the broadcast. He's going to come back from time to time and share information. He'll bring other guests with him.
I'll try to bring everybody I can. To
All right, that's
talk about
fantastic.
Calhoun.
Mark Brandon is campus director for the Huntsville campus. Always good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you, Kenny.
All right, thank you guys for being here and sharing this great information. I want to thank you for being a part of our conversation today, and we hope that you've learned a lot about how you can actually begin that academic journey and get all the success that's available to you through this great academic institution. I hope that you enjoyed the video that you just watched, and you can check out the YouTube version of it on our Impact with Kenny Anderson page, or even our YouTube channel, Impact with Kenny Anderson. You can also see some behind-the-scenes shots of what happens once the camera stops rolling. For Impact, I'm Kenny Anderson, and I hope that you have a great day.